everyone. A very warm welcome to this special episode of The Conversation. I am Rashmi Bora, your host today from the suburbs of Atlanta. Yes, I know you are a little surprised, but as I said at the very beginning, this episode is special, and this is because Dr. Ardain Isma gets to be the guest in his own show while I play the host. This is a reverse chat, and we have done this a couple of times earlier. After the release of his novels, Bittersweet Memories of Last Spring and Last Spring Was Bittersweet, and we decided let's do it again to talk about his most recent novel, The Cry of a Lone Bird. So, congratulations, Dr. Isma, on your new release. Welcome to the show, and a big thank you for letting me quiz you on your novel. So let's get started. Okay, to start off, because I do not want to give a synopsis the wrong way, and you're the best person. So, can you give us an outline of the novel, especially for those viewers who have not read the book yet?
First of all, let me begin by saying that the title of the novel is The Cry of a Lone Bird. Which seems to be a kind of pretty intriguing title.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's precisely why I've chosen this title. But the bird itself is a servant girl by the name of Louisinette,
Mm-hmm.
who lives in a small town called St. Louis, one of the coastal towns in the northwest part of Haiti, where I was born. And she lives in a household where she was being extremely mistreated. I mean, she's mistreated by the people with whom she lives, and then to whom she serves. So the treatment was so bad that she seemed to be ignored by most important things that you can think a parent would envisage for his or her child. She's just like what I consider the unseen of society. And she became so vulnerable to the point where she was raped. And the person who did that, as a person, who was some sort of a familiar figure in the household, but she wouldn't dare say it. And as a result of the rape, she conceived a child,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to be a constant reminder as she wakes up every day, seeing that child, so she can just walk away from that horrible moment when that happened to her.
Right.
And as a result of that, she finds a friend by the name Celine, who is the protagonist of the story. And Celine happens to be the only child of the people in the household where Lucinette used to live. And then she decides to go on a mission to bring justice to Lucinette. This is how the story unfolds.
This is a beautiful outline, and you have given us a nice picture of the story without revealing the details, so those who have not read the story yet will be eager to read the book. And actually, before we start, if you have a copy of the book, can you just
Yes,
bring it up for our viewers?
I do.
Okay,
There it
it's
is, The Cry of a Lone Bird.
Mhm.
As you would say in French, le cri d'un oiseau solitaire.
Okay, okay.
The Cry of a Lone Bird.
Okay, the story tugs at the heartstrings of humanity. And we have the sad tale of Lucinette. She is, you pronounce it as Restavik, right?
Restavek, which
Restavik.
means staying with,
Uh-huh.
but from the French word reste,
Okay.
avec. Rest means stay,
Okay.
avec is with. So
Okay.
they just combined these two words over the years to call that just a little Restavek.
Okay. So she was
Like a
abused.
servant girl or servant
Oh,
child,
oh,
boy. It could
okay.
be either way.
So both genders are covered by that same word, right?
The same word, yeah.
Okay, so she was abused, she was exploited, and her story echoes the lives of millions of children across the globe who live in deplorable conditions. The story that you write is based in Haiti,
Hmm.
where official slavery was abolished 2 centuries ago,
Hmm.
but the modern day servitude still exists.
Hmm.
And this problem is far from being over. Your story is based in 1948. I'm correct,
Right,
right?
right.
And that is 77 years ago. I'm just interested in knowing, do you have any particular reason for going all the way back to 1948 rather than, writing the same story based on present
This
conditions?
is a beautiful question. Let me just begin by answering the first part of the question.
Okay,
I chose that because you could see that the name of the rich family with whom used to stay,
right.
is the name Baudin.
Mhm.
Baudin is a very old historical colonial name,
Okay.
as I also describe in the story. So the great grandfather of Celine's father actually
Mhm.
was a an important lieutenant in the colonial army who fought bravely against the French during the War of Independence.
Okay.
So all the way up until the 1940s, uh, the I would say the descendants of the same family, you could still find them in the country, although not necessarily in St. Louis, but if you really track them down, then you should be able to find them.
Okay.
I just wanted to make this historical connection
Mm-hmm.
of because of choosing this particular family, and but I would say just like you, it could be uh, a story written at the present day because the rest avec or children in servitude, servant boys or girls is a recurrent thing. It's not just only in Haiti. It just so
Right.
happened because fiction reflects reality, and I was fortunate enough to live in that part of the world,
Mm-hmm.
of my late teens before I left Haiti. So I was able to witness firsthand the horrible condition in which these children really live. But if you do research, if you go, and you find a statistic, you would find it's not only a Haitian phenomenon; it's a worldwide,
It's a global thing.
issue, especially sub-Saharan Africa.
Right. Right. Actually, you almost answered a part of a part of the question that I was supposed to
Ah,
ask. That
okay.
was what I was going to say. That when you lived in Haiti, this must have been a very familiar sight to you.
Yeah.
When you used to see these the child servants, and
Mm.
it might have been very painful. So at that point of time, I know that I'm going, way like behind. But at any point of time, did you feel that you will be very happy in if in some way you would raise the awareness of people to what was going on, like write something, because now you ended up writing a novel on that problem which you saw with your own eyes or you'd heard stories about that. That is one question. And the other part is this: I know at the very beginning of your novel, you said that it is a work of fiction and any resemblance to anybody is coincidental.
Right.
But, uh, like, is it based on anybody even that you heard about in particular? Or it's you just, it's your
No,
imagination?
the reason that embodies, every single, child living in servitude. That's what we remember and the epilogue. I said there are
Uh-huh.
so many Louisianettes out there.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah, because it's just a symbol, and it's something that society needs to to pay attention to. It is something that has to be addressed. I lived in that small town. My own parents had Western eggs.
Okay.
So I witnessed firsthand, although I am very proud to say that my mother,
Mm-hmm.
uh, when she had children staying with her, she always made sure that they went to school, at least the primary school was taken care of. As opposed to so many other folks that I know in town, that I knew in town,
Correct.
uh, we're not even really interested. But you know what was so striking? Is this something that everyone takes, not just for granted, but it's pretty normal. And
Right.
I was always wondering why every morning she has to be the first one to be up before everyone. And then she has to head directly to the kitchen, making sure breakfast, you know, was in preparation and to be ready when we're ready to go to school. And then she has to use the next task is to broom, to sweep the floor.
Correct.
And ultimately, the other task also was to wash the dishes and all the other stuff. At the same time, we well dressed, you know, kissing mom,
Correct.
and head to school. It was always bothering me because I always knew, I mean, I wasn't sophisticated enough to express the way I can now,
I understand.
but it was always, intriguing to me because I knew from the back of my mind, human intelligence is the best natural resource for any society, you know. And I was always thinking as I grew older.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to school in Port-au-Prince where I thought that problem could have been, non-existent. To me, it has exacerbated
Excuse me.
so many of them in the streets that you could see. That's what I call them, the unseen of society.
Yes. Everyone sees them, but still people act as if they are invisible.
So they walk through them. So they don't really, when your eyes is actually is going through something, but your mind
Right.
is not really there. And many of these countries, including Haiti, there's no law really that would protect these children to say it's illegal. At a certain age, a child needs to be at school, not somewhere, doing unchosen, horrible task,
Right.
being treated as a virtual slave, and they have to be slavishly submissive. Otherwise, insult and blows and all kind of stuff can happen to them.
Right.
So that was the reason why. And then I said to myself, it wasn't a long project. It's not something that I just jumped in.
Right.
It was a project. I mean, it's been in the work for 6 to 7 years. I put it aside, I put it aside. I wrote the story when I put it aside.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, now it is the time to bring the story, to make it available to a wider
Right.
audience. I think society owes to these children.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, Louisinette, she was a victim of rape, and it is such a heartbreaking incident, a heartbreaking tragedy. And for any individual who goes through that, he or she, wants to forget what happened. They want to erase that chapter from their mind. In this book, we want the readers to know what happened to Louisinette and how the tragedy happened. And you do not describe what happened. In other words, I want to say that it's not a third person narration. Rather, you make Louisinette narrate the story herself to
Exactly.
explain in details what happened.
Exactly.
So, my question is, it needs a lot of courage to, repeat what happened to you, something that you really want to forget.
Mhm.
But Louisinet does that with utmost honesty, and truthfulness,
Mm,
she narrates the story to her friend.
mm.
So, did you actually do that, to pass on the message that after all what had happened, she is courageous? Or, and do you wanted to prepare the grounds for what is to follow in the story? Because,
Exactly. Remember how hesitant she was?
yes,
And she ultimately, decided to tell it all to stay. So Celine,
uh huh,
and horrific detail. And I
correct.
did that precisely. If I said to myself, if I were the one
Mm-hmm.
to narrow it, to give raw description, maybe
Right,
readers might have second thought for the simple fact that, you know, they don't seem to, especially women, they don't trust men speaking about things like that.
right,
Because usually when wrongs are committed against those innocent children, it always mean, exploiting the vulnerability, So
correct.
I let the victim herself
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
describe it,
Yes.
tell exactly what happened. Who else best to tell it is the victim herself, right? So that's what I decided to make Louisiane explain
Narrated.
to Celine, explain to all the readers, explain to the world what happened to her.
Yes. So that is one of your brilliant techniques of storytelling, because that was what I felt, because you described everything, but when it came to that part, when the reader wants to know her story, it is, Louis Annette narrating the story, and that does create a big impact on someone who is reading it. And I want to quote this line from the book when she says to Celine,
Mhm.
something that really made, me respect her even more. This is what she says: "My ordeal became my liberation. It made me grow, made me stronger. I'm not afraid of life's struggles anymore."
Mhm.
So that is a really strong statement that she made,
Mhm.
which makes us feel that yes, she was quiet because she did not have anyone's support to move forward to the society and say what happened. But nonetheless, it made her very courageous from such an incident. I
And when you
think.
know what, even psychologists will say that
Huh?
children who are living under harsh condition,
Mhm.
they developed a very important skill, which is they learn how to conceal their suffering. It's not because they accept it. It's not even because they tolerate it. Because concealment has become part of a survival technique. Is what I mean. So that's why she never, even Victorin, her
Right.
husband, she never really explained the way she does it to Celine when she's telling Celine what happened to her.
Exactly.
Because she was afraid that by telling too much, that might even have a negative effect on her husband. So she suffers in silence. So
Exactly.
I think it's very important when society takes a blind eye to have, there has to be a voice, you know, to strike the consciousness of people who seem to accept
Right.
certain things in society as a fait accompli, and in fact, it's not. Human being can be, I mean, a person has the ability to think, to feel, and to develop, to grow, and to contribute to society. You can't really confine that person to a specific corner. Just like I say in an interview I give to a radio station
Mhm.
here in town, and I
Correct.
said there are children who will be born and raised and grow, born in poverty, live in poverty, and die in poverty,
Yes.
which is a gross disservice to society, to humanity. You know, so one of the things that slavery really did, it pushed humanity back, to several probably centuries as a result of that, because keeping mankind in such a very uh, 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 wretched condition.
Right.
whereas their intelligence could have been very well used to the benefit of mankind.
Right.
So, and it's unfortunate this problem still lingers in our midst, and sometimes we pretend that we don't see it, you know, and it is here. So it's a very sad story, but
Very
I
sad
felt it
story.
was
Yeah.
necessary for me to raise awareness about the issue,
Mhm.
and hopefully, at least some people, or concerned people, those who are in a position to influence, to make changes, they take a look at the misery of these children and decide to do something about it. So, as a writer, my role is to educate, to shake the moral consciousness of individuals, and ultimately, someday, somehow,
Right.
something will happen. Yeah.
There is like that part in the story when Celine, she confronts her mother
Mhm.
that I know what had happened in this house, and you treated Louisinette so badly, you threw her out of the house. I couldn't believe when her mother says that she would not tell us who the father of the child is. And as Catholics, we cannot tolerate such behavior. So that is such hypocrisy, such.
This is terrible.
So she brings the religious part into it, talking about being a devout Catholic, but
Mm.
at the same time, she was somebody who did something so bad and, so unkind.
And that's why Celine was really what she was devastated that her own mother can think that way. This, but also as you can see, it's a very clumsy excuse
I know.
justify why you kicked a defenseless child, out of your home, not knowing exactly where she was going to spend the night. So but it happened. It happened.
I read an article just recently. It was published in 2019, and she's a researcher in modern slavery and human rights in
Mhm.
Sheffield Hallam University. Her name is, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Fiona D. Hooksias.
Mhm.
And she raised an issue there. She said that children in Haiti, they suffer from slavery. Most of them are girls. But the thing is that women play a key role in perpetuating the system. And in this article, she wrote that it's the urban women, they approach the intermediaries who are also women. And usually, those are the women who get the agricultural goods from the farms to markets, and they ask them for the servants. So I could not relate to it. So, just if you would expand on that, like usually when we talk about women, they are a symbol of maternal warmth.
Yes.
We talk about kindness in women, about nurturing a child. So, you know, what exactly happens? Why are women so responsible in perpetuating the system? Even in Celine's household, I'm not saying that her father is any good, but of her two parents, the monstrous behavior, I think, was reflected more in her mother, Bernadine.
Mhm.
So, why does this happen? Why are we
Uh,
so responsible for this?
Which me, I have to say, it's more of a class problem, class issue, rather than a gender issue.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember, I told you, okay, the women would abuse, maybe insult and blows, but when it comes to raping, and usually you will find a man,
Okay.
either gender, gender would not pay, serious attention to the condition of these children. The reason why there's a scene in the story, just to there's a scene in the story where Lucinette was returning from the marketplace,
Hmm.
And then she goes down to see her cousin. And
Right.
then that's when she finds out the same thing you're describing now. Two poor girls
Yes.
we're
Yes.
about to be, we're just
Taken
about to
away.
be. Exactly. To me, see this part, it was one of the most painful part for me to write.
Uh-huh.
It was tough because I could not give justice to these children
Right.
writing it. Despite the fact the mother understands what's going to happen to them, she gives them away anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, I just, resulted to say, well, she's a victim too. Because it is a deprived condition that can force a mom to take such a
Correct.
unimaginable, decision, unacceptable decision.
Right. And that part was very heartbreaking when the children say that we do not mind dying in
Yeah,
poverty,
we want to die with you. If it's
but
going
don't
to,
give us
let's
away.
die here, and our misery, our suffering will be over.
I know.
Yeah, but it was tough for me to write.
Right.
It was tough, but it's true. It's true. Because I remember when I was younger, when I was a kid, so
Mhm.
many young West Avec who fled the homes, and then just to be, they fled, and they to their ancestral homes or to their parent, you know, back in the country,
Mhm.
but just to return exactly where they fled, just to be forced to go back there. It was just the parents understand that the child is not going to be treated well, but they just come to a conclusion. Well, at least they give him or her food. They give her something to dress.
Right.
You know, it is a condition that is, not everyone will understand it. But if you live in a developing world, especially in poor countries such as Haiti,
Hmm.
you would see why a parent would make such tragic decision.
Right.
Basically, it's just like giving away a child. And there, and in some cases, there's no hope of ever seeing that child again. But it's more of a question of class, not a gender. Uh,
Right.
And those people who go out there and recruiting or try to get these children for the richer ones in major cities, it's just like part of the whole system, you know, part of the whole system. You can find someone who lives in a wealthy suburb in Port-au-Prince,
Uh-huh.
and also one who wants some of the West Africa to be in the house,
Right.
giving false promises or sometime, or maybe relate to someone on one of the provincial towns, and to try to get at least one or two for them. And this is something very persistent. I remember back in New York when I was getting married back in 1987. So
Mhm.
I went to New York because I got married in New Jersey. So, but I stayed in New York with my uncle. I spent the night there, and the next morning, so we went to a barber shop, just to get my hair, to look nice and all that. Anticipating, oh, I'm gonna get the most beautiful woman in my life. So I was in there at the barber shop. Rashmi, I can't believe it. They're all Haitians, the barbers. And they want to know if you know where gossip circulates, go to the nail salon or to the barber shops. This is where you'll find it. And this
Everything.
guy he was talking about refugees in Miami.
Mhm.
And I had the impression maybe he had never been to Miami. But the news spread throughout New York or New Jersey, rest avec or all over Miami. If you want one, just you just have to call a friend, they'll send you one. I laugh, and I laugh. And they were saying that with such a coldness. You know. Even here in a foreign country,
Mhm.
they still see these people as the unseen of society. That's why they think they can get away with it.